Hey, what's up guys? John here. While everyone's looking at Israel and Hamas, they are not paying attention to the structural change that is taking place right now in the economy. They just brought this story out. They slipped it right under the rug early this morning on a Saturday to where it would go unnoticed. But if you're selling any product online, if you're doing any type of business, you must pay close attention to it because everyone is so focused on what's happening here. Everyone really should be looking at what's happening here. I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to show you the facts. Please hit the like button. YouTube will share this content to educate other people about what's really going on. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer of all time, go to GreatCreditFast.com by clicking the link in the description below this video. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com for a free consultation. Take a look at this. So Ray Dalio says there's a 50% chance of war with the Israel and Hamas conflict. Threatens to spread, hedge fund legend, Dalio says. Now look at what's happening now. This is going to be coming to real estate as well. This is going to be coming to all industries. A big climate stress test is coming for Amazon sellers and suppliers. So, as Amazon and other big businesses ramp up efforts to reduce their carbon footprint, they're putting pressure on their suppliers to do the same. Who don't pay might pay a big price. Starting in just a few months, 2024, Amazon will require suppliers, to share their emissions data, set emissions goals, and report on their progress. The e-commerce giant said its recent released sustainability report. With that move, it joins Microsoft, Walmart, Apple, and others, saying that suppliers must step up decarbonization efforts. Now, I believe they're also going to use Stripe and PayPal and all these other payment processors as well. What I believe is going to happen is that all businesses that are selling online will have to answer to somebody about their carbon footprint. That's what I think this is going. This is where I think it's all going. There's a really big push for real estate as well. I mean, this is huge. But because everyone's looking at Israel and Hamas, everyone's paying attention to that, the entire economy, how we create value, how we work, how we hire people, everything is going to be up for question due to all these new regulations, all these new restrictions, all these new standards that are coming. The mandates come as big businesses face more demand than ever to adopt eco-friendly practices. Consumers, investors, regulators, and governments are pushing firms for more progress and transparency. The pressure is coming at companies who are then putting pressure on suppliers. So here's how it's going to be broken down. Scope 1. Right? Businesses typically track 3 levels of emissions. Scope 1 comes directly from operations. Scope 2 are purchased energy and such as electricity. Scope 3 relate to the company's activities but come from indirect sources such as supplier emissions and emissions from customers using their products. Now imagine this. Imagine you're Amazon. You own the platform and you are able to determine who is in compliance, who is not in compliance, who meets certain thresholds, who doesn't. As these thresholds start getting more burdensome, you're going to start seeing a lot of people leave, which is going to present a massive opportunity for Amazon to start entering all of these different spaces and just eliminating competition. This is what is ultimately going to start to unfold, I believe. Major industries by nonprofit CDP found that on average, Scope 3 accounts for about 75% of emissions. Companies have much more control over their suppliers than many other areas of indirect emissions. Well, the supply chain is where there's going to be continued rising pressure and transparency because companies have a direct impact over that. Now, look at what these mandates are going to do. So, Scope 1, 2, and 3 deliver products and services on a carbon neutral basis and fill out a supply scorecard each year. AstraZeneca suppliers are expected to annually report emissions data to the CDP and set science-based goals. While Amazon doesn't include suppliers in Scope 3 accounting, it's effectively dealing with this in their own way, with other firms having started doing by forcing suppliers to report emissions to them and set goals which emission levels can then be tracked. We know that to further drive down emissions, we must ensure that in our supply chain make operational changes necessary to decarbonize their business. Third-party sellers and suppliers, especially smaller ones, face a paradox as climate mandates arise and become increasingly tougher. Even if they're eco-conscious, many say they don't have the resources to meet tracking and reporting demands. 8 in 10 small, medium-sized business owners say reducing emissions is a high priority, yet 63% say they don't have the right skills and 43% say they lack the funds, according to a survey from nonprofit SME Climate Hub. In the survey with Intuit, 2/3 of small business owners said that they are taking steps to reduce environmental impact, such as recycling and use renewable materials. Now, I don't know if I would say 2/3. Most small businesses right now are trying to stay afloat. They don't have the convenience of looking at anything else. They need to pay their employees. Wages have skyrocketed in the last couple of years. Everything has really picked up, in which many small businesses are just trying to keep the lights on. So to say that they have resources that they're going to start to willingly invest doesn't seem practical. Businesses that weren't cited, that's because of lack of money and resources. Tracking emissions data is no easy feat, but look at this. They go on right here and they say that the suppliers themselves and the suppliers and of suppliers have to come to their own independent decision on how they're going to approach this. They go on to say that, but the retail giant also made it clear that there may be consequences for partners that do not measure up. We will continue to look for suppliers that help us achieve our decarbonization vision as we select partners for business opportunities, Amazon experts said in a report, right? Amazon said in a report. So if they don't meet that threshold, they're probably not going to get ranked on the front page. They're going to have a much harder time getting in front of customers. And when you see that there's already 9.7 million Amazon sellers, this is going to be a very big problem. You look at a payment processor like Stripe. They have an entire fund on their platform in which they're constantly asking you to donate. What I think is going to happen is I think Amazon and Walmart and Stripe and PayPal, they're all going to work together, and it's going to become unavoidable for many businesses. Like if you look at Walmart, for example, they have a 2040 pledge where they're going to say that they want to be entirely net zero. Right? This article recently came out last week, about 10 days ago. Then you have PayPal, same exact thing. PayPal saying the same exact thing, 2040, right? 2040. And then you go here and you start to look at all the companies of which are involved. If you look at a lot of these companies, you're starting to see some really big names, all of which are pointing to the same exact timeline. So when we're starting to see like the global covenant of mayors, right? You're starting to look Hillary. You're starting to look at all these big names. What I think is going to happen is this. So you click here and you click on transportation, or we'll do ports and ships. So if you go ports and ships, they have green shipping corridors where you can click on find more, creating special economic zones at sea in support of enabling ecosystems for the uptake in new technologies, clean fuels, innovative business models, building existing C40 on the proven successful such as zero emissions areas, addressing broader environmental impacts by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, while simultaneously improving air quality, incentivizing cities and ports to collaborate and develop meaningful public-private partnerships with the shipping industry. It's all going to work hand in hand. So all of these very dominant online platforms, I believe, are going to slowly start pushing into this. It's going to be something that we all need to pay very close attention to. So when you see all these breaking stories, overseas and all this trouble that we're in as a country, we have to pay very close attention to this, because as this starts to come home and be right in front of us, it's going to change everything. And I think one of the big things it's going to push for is universal basic income. This came out one day ago. Universal basic income actually isn't that radical, right? They're pushing for this. When these sellers start to go out of business and a lot of small businesses can't comply with a lot of these new measures, what's ultimately going to happen? They're going to go out of business and they're going to need money. And so universal basic income is a easy transition to that. If you look at just how much UBI has grown just over the last 2 years, look at this. So guaranteed income programs in America, cities, have surged over the past year, rising to 82 cities across 29 states, up from 11 participating cities in 2021, right? So it's an increase of about 800%, 700%. You start to look at what's happening. This is what's happening, where all small businesses are going to get pushed. The same thing is going to be coming for property owners as well. If you look at, the property owners, the same exact situation unfolding. So here, implementing and enforcing building energy regulations and mandatory performance standards. So, implementing and enforcing building energy regulations and mandatory performance standards. So, here, implementing and enforcing building energy regulations and mandatory performance standards. So, here, implementing and enforcing building energy regulations and mandatory performance standards. So, Pay very, very close attention. When everyone's saying to look over here, you should be looking over here, paying attention to how this is all going to impact us. What do you think about this entire situation? Do you think it's going to just be Amazon, or do you think the same thing is going to go to eBay and it's going to go to all these other platforms? And it's going to happen where you're going to need to have a payment processor online, possibly in the coming decade. You're going to need to prove these numbers, your emission numbers. I personally think it's going to be death of a thousand cuts, and I think all smart entrepreneurs should be paying very, very close attention to it. And the last thing you should do is ignore what's actually happening, because when you do that and you think, oh, it's a theory, it's not going to actually happen, when factually it is happening, you're walking into a mistake. So I think it's always the wisest thing is to take all the information in, form a forward-thinking decision based on fact, prepare for it, put yourself in a really strong financial position. If you're in high interest rate consumer debt, now's the time to get out of it. Put yourself in a really, really strong place, because I think there's going to be a lot of businesses closing up, a lot of opportunities to grow and scale businesses if they're done right. I think there's just going to be a lot of structural change happening in this economy. What do you think? Drop below. Hit the like button, Abiana, and if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, don't let it sit there. One late payment will sit in your report for 7 years from the date in which it was filed, preventing you from getting business funding or being able to invest in distressed real estate. So go to GreatCreditFast.com. We'd love to help you. I'll catch you in the next video.